And you have it there, the North Sea, this big, that nobody would even see. You can take 1,000 times more power because the wind is intermittent, it doesn't work, it's extremely expensive. All the windmills are made in China. They used to be Germany and China, now they're mostly in China. They all come out of China. They say that the blades, which are carbon fiber, you can't bury. Oh, okay, you can't bury. What are you going to do, dump them in the ocean someplace? Because they only last a certain period of time. And remember, a windmill has a life of 8 years, especially when they're out in the salty sea and they start to rot and to rust. You have to replace them. It's very hard to replace them. Wind needs massive subsidy. And you are paying in Scotland and in UK and all over the place where they have them, massive subsidies to have these ugly monsters all over the place. So I've restricted windmills in the United States. Now, a couple, we have, you know, the poor stupid people at the beginning, they approved them, so they have their full approvals. But I've restricted windmills in the United States because they also kill all your birds, you know, they wipe out. You know, it's interesting. If you shoot a bald eagle in the United States, they put you in jail for 5 years. And yet windmills knock out hundreds of them. They don't do anything. You explained that. So it's a very expensive energy. It's a very ugly energy, and we won't allow it in the United States.
So we believe in a mix, and obviously oil and gas is going to be with us for a very long time, and that'll be part of the mix. But also wind, solar, increasingly nuclear, which is what we've been discussing this morning, civil nuclear as we go forward. The most important thing for the United Kingdom is that we have control of our energy, and we have energy independence and security, because at the moment, whatever the attributes and facilities in the North Sea, that is sold onto the international market, and we buy it back off the international market. That was a historic mistake in my view. But what we need is a mix so that we get the energy security that we need for the future, and that's the focus of everything that we're doing. But what we have discussed today is that the energy prices are too high, which is why we recently took measures to reduce the energy prices, particularly for energy-intensive businesses. But in the long run, the only way to reduce your energy prices is to take control of your energy, and that's what we're doing, taking control of our energy.
Mr. President.
Our King Charles, who you're a great friend of, is a big fan of eco-projects, of windmills, as you call them. Is he wrong?
So King Charles is an environmentalist, I will tell you. And I say that in a positive way, not a negative way. And, every time I've met with him, he talked about the environment, how important it is. And I'm all for it. I think that's great. You know, King Charles, more than anything else, loves the country. But I got to know him very well. He truly is an environmentalist. He wants clean air, clean water, you know, all of the things that we all want.
Mr. President, you have said that you have not been briefed on the Epstein files, or your name has not appeared in the Epstein files. But doesn't the AG have to tell you if your name is in the files?
I haven't been overly interested in it. You know, it's a hoax that's been built up way beyond proportion. I can say this, those files were run by the worst scum on earth. They were run by Comey, they were run by Garland, they were run by Biden and all of the people that actually ran the government, including the auto pen. Those files were run for 4 years by those people. If they had anything, I assume they would have released it. The whole thing is a hoax. They ran the files. I was running against somebody that ran the files. If they had something, they would have released. Now, they can easily put something in the files that's a phony. Like, as an example, Christopher Steele, a person you know well, happens to be from your country. But Christopher Steele, as an example, wrote a book, a dossier. We call it the fake news dossier. And the whole thing was a fake. The whole thing was a fake. They could put things in the file that are fake. But those files were run by bad, sick people. If they had anything, why didn't they use it when I was killing Joe and then he gave out because he was 25 points down? And then I got somebody new. Nobody even knew anything about her. She was a horrible vice president. She was a border czar, but she never went to the border. She never once called a border patrol agent to find out how we're doing, but she was the border czar. Her name was Kamala. Nobody knows her last name. It was Harris, but nobody knew her last name. So I ended up, how would you like to end up in a race where you're killing somebody, you're beating him, and then they say, all right, we'll take him out. He's not working. Let's put somebody else. And then she had a 6-week honeymoon. It was amazing. They predicted she will have a 6-week honeymoon, and she did. And then she got slaughtered.
Do you feel that?
But think of it. Those files were run by these people. They were run by my enemy. If there was anything in there, they would have used them for the election.
Do you feel
Do you
that?
think that drawing, I think I heard you say something the other day, that the drawing that was the subject of the Wall Street Journal report.
I don't do drawings. I'm not a drawing person.
Do you think it was fraudulent?
I don't do
Something in
drawings.
your name?
Sometimes people say, would you draw a building and I'll draw 4 lines and a little roof, you know, for a charity, so. But I'm not a drawing person. I don't do drawings of women, that I can tell you. They say there's a drawing of a woman, and I don't do drawings of women. And also, you know, Epstein was always a very controversial guy. I was at a very high position, you know, pretty much all my life, in all fairness. I've been doing this for a long time. I had the top show on television. I had the #1 bestsellers. I had everything, right? And I was a very successful business guy. He was a very controversial. Who would do a controversial drawing? Now, with that being said, they say there were many letters done by many people, and many big people, you know, big successful people. But I just don't. When you talk about files, I just keep going back, and other people too. Even the enemy says this thing is not correct, because if we had it, we would have used it on the guy. It's a bad issue. They say it's a good issue for Trump. Do you know that my poll numbers are up 4.5 points since this ridiculous Epstein stuff? My poll numbers have gone up 4.5 points because people don't buy it. Okay, people don't buy it. And he's gone, and we want to focus on trade deals. I want to focus on the deal we just made with the European Union, which is the biggest trade deal in history. It's the biggest deal, I think, in history, not just trade deal. So if they would have had something, they would have used it.
And people keep running stories about the time you threw him out of Mar-a-Lago. Can you settle that? What was it about? What caused the breach with him?
That's such old history. Very easy to explain, but I don't want to waste your time by explaining it. But for years, I wouldn't talk to Jeffrey Epstein. I wouldn't talk because he did something that was inappropriate. He hired help. And I said, don't ever do that again. He stole people that worked for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again. And I threw him out of the place, persona non grata. I threw him out, and that was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. President,
And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And many other people that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island. In one of my very good moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island. Yeah.
Mr. President, on Gaza, next time you speak to Netanyahu, what will you be asking him to do?
Say it one louder.
Next time you speak to Netanyahu,